The last thing Jake Harrison remembered was walking with his friends toward the UFOs in the forest. The next thing he remembered was waking up in a completely different place, with unexplainable marks on his body. Welcome to Shelley's Mysterious Files. Today's story is about an unforgettable night that 4 friends experienced in the Oregon forests. However, after that night, only one of them could remember those moments. Let's begin. Welcome, Jake. Thank you for being here with us today to share that night. First, could you introduce yourself and tell us what happened that night in the Oregon forests?
Of course, Shelley. I'm Jake Harrison, 23 years old, and I'm studying biology at Portland State University. That night, it was October 2024, specifically the night of October 15th. Tyler, Connor, Derek, and I have been friends since childhood, and we go camping every year as a tradition. This time we set up camp in the forested area on the north slope of Mount Hood in the Cascade Mountains.
That night, you encountered something you had never seen before. Can you tell us what you first noticed and what you felt from that moment on?
After dinner, we were sitting around the campfire. It was around 10:30 p.m. Tyler was playing guitar. Connor was telling old stories. I was looking up at the sky because the stars were very clear that night. Suddenly, Connor stopped mid-sentence and said, "What's happening up there?" We all looked up and saw.
What exactly did you see, Jake? Can you describe that moment in detail?
There were 3 long, thin lines of light in the sky. These weren't in the traditional round UFO shape. They were like giant lightsabers, about 50 to 60 meters long, but very thin. They were glowing with blue-white light and moving silently. They made no sound, had no propellers. They were just gliding.
When you saw these linear objects, what was your and your friends' first reaction? What went through your minds at that moment, and what did you decide to do?
At first, we were all shocked. Derek asked, "What is that?" Tyler started laughing as if he thought it was a joke, but Connor approached it more seriously. "Guys, this isn't normal," he said. I grabbed my binoculars and tried to look closer. That's when I realized these objects were moving toward the back of the forest, toward a valley about 2 to 3 kilometers away.
When you looked through the binoculars, could you see any details in these linear objects? What kind of structure did they have, and how were they moving?
When I looked through the binoculars, I could see more detail. The surface of the objects appeared metallic, but strangely, they absorbed and reflected light. Their edges were very sharp and straight, with no curves whatsoever. The most surprising part was how they moved, sometimes horizontal, sometimes shifting to vertical positions. It was as if gravity didn't affect them.
Did you see these objects landing? What did you and your friends feel at that moment? And were you scared when you decided to approach?
Yes, about 15 minutes later, all 3 began descending into the valley behind the forest. Their lights gradually dimmed and eventually disappeared from sight. Tyler said, "Let's go check it out. Maybe we'll find something." I hesitated a bit, but curiosity won out. Connor and Derek were curious too, only I was a little scared, but I didn't show it.
When you started walking from your campsite toward that valley, what was your route like, and what did you feel along the way? Did anything bother you?
We left our campsite and went deeper into the forest. There wasn't much of a path. We just followed deer trails. We walked for about 45 minutes. The strange thing was, the forest, which is normally very noisy, was in an odd silence that night. We couldn't hear any insect sounds, bird sounds. There was a slightly electric feeling in the air. My hair was standing on end.
When you approached the valley, what did you see first? What was the scene like at that moment? And were these linear objects still there?
When we reached the hill at the edge of the valley, we looked down and couldn't believe it. 3 linear craft were sitting parallel to the ground. They no longer appeared blue-white, but more silver-colored. There was a slight glow around them. Most surprisingly, there were small figures moving around them, human-sized but moving differently.
Did you see those figures in more detail? What did they look like, and what kind of movements were they making? What did you feel while watching them?
Because the distance was far, I couldn't see very clearly, but they were in human form. They made very orderly, robotic movements, as if they were programmed for a specific task. My heart was beating very fast. Tyler whispered, "What are they doing?" At that moment, there was a very tense silence between us.
What happened after that moment? What was the last clear thing you remembered, and what kind of change did you experience afterwards?
This is where the story gets strange, Shelley. The last clear thing I remember is the four of us crouching on the hill watching below. Connor had said, "Let's get a closer look." I had said, "No, it's too dangerous." But then the next thing I remember is waking up in a completely different place in morning light.
Where were you when you woke up, and what was your condition at that moment? Were there any changes or marks on your body?
I woke up in the parking lot of a gas station by Highway 26. This was at least 20 kilometers from our campsite. My watch showed 6:47. My clothes were dirty but not torn. The strangest thing was 3 small dot-shaped marks on my arm and a slight burn mark on the back of my neck. My head was aching badly.
When you found your friends, Tyler, Connor, and Derek that morning, what was their condition? Was it similar to yours or different?
I found them in the cafeteria inside the gas station. All 3 were drinking coffee as if nothing had happened. When Tyler saw me, he said, "Jake, you finally woke up. You were sleeping very deeply." But I didn't remember anything. When I asked them about that night, they said, "We just sat by the campfire and went to sleep early."
How did it affect you that your friends didn't remember anything? And how did they react when you told them what you experienced?
It was a very frightening feeling, Shelley. I felt like I had lived in a different reality. When I told them about the UFOs and the scene in that valley, Tyler laughed. "Jake, you had a really bad dream." Connor was kinder, but he didn't believe it either. Derek said, "Maybe you were hallucinating from exhaustion."
Were there memories that emerged in your mind after that night? Did you remember more details in the following days or weeks?
Yes, during the first 2 weeks, memories started coming back piece by piece. In my dreams, I saw the inside of those linear craft. It was a very bright, sterile environment, metal surfaces and strange lights. I remember lying on a table and figures leaning over me. Their eyes were very large and black. And
Were these memories dreams or real memories? How can you distinguish between them, and how did this situation affect you psychologically?
that's a very difficult question, Shelley. The memories are so vivid that they're too clear to be dreams. I can feel those figures touching me, their voice, actually not voice. I remember hearing their thoughts in my mind. This situation stressed me a lot. I had sleep problems for months. I constantly felt like I was being monitored.
You say you heard thoughts from those figures in your mind. What kind of messages did you receive, and what was this communication like?
It wasn't words. It was more like images and feelings. They made me feel that they wouldn't harm me, but at the same time, they were very curious, as if they were examining me. I remember one message very clearly. "You are different. You can remember." I still don't know what that meant.
What did you understand from the message, "You are different, you can remember"? Why could only you remember? Why couldn't your other friends remember anything?
I've thought about this a lot. Maybe because of my biology education, my brain works differently, or the fear and resistance I showed against them that night might have protected my memory. My friends were more relaxed and open-minded. Maybe that's why their memories were interfered with.
Do you want to talk about those marks on your body? Did you go to a doctor, and what explanation did you get for these marks?
Yes, I went to a doctor. A week later, the 3 dots on my arm looked like they were made with very fine needles. The doctor said maybe it's an insect bite, but their triangular arrangement was very unusual. The burn mark on my neck couldn't be attributed to any natural cause. It can still be seen very faintly.
Did you experience any changes in your life after that night? Did you feel any physical, mental, or behavioral differences?
Definitely yes. The biggest change was that I couldn't look at the night sky anymore. When I look at the stars, I remember that night and get very tense. Also, electrical devices behave strangely around me. My phone keeps shutting down, my watch stops. My friends say it's just coincidence.
Can you give more details about these electrical malfunctions? Do these situations happen when other people are around you too?
Yes, it's very strange, especially the laboratory equipment at the hospital has problems around me. Microscopes have focus problems. Digital scales make incorrect measurements. Last month, I went to the movies with my friend. The phone of the man sitting next to me kept vibrating. This only happens around me.
How is your relationship with your friends Tyler, Connor, and Derek now? Did this incident affect the bond between you?
Unfortunately, it affected it a bit. They want to completely forget about this topic while I keep trying to talk about that night. Tyler sometimes says, "Jake, stop this nonsense now." Connor is more understanding, but he's worried too. Derek, I think he remembers something, but won't admit it.
What clues make you think Derek remembers something? Did you observe any differences in his behavior?
Derek became much quieter after that night. He used to be very talkative. Now he often looks thoughtful. Once he said, "Jake, sometimes I have strange dreams," but didn't give details. Also, when UFO topics come up, he gets very tense and tries to change the subject.
Did you consult any expert to investigate that night? Did you try to work with UFO researchers or hypnotherapists?
Yes, I met with Dr. Patricia Williams, the local representative of MUFON in Portland. She took it very seriously and suggested hypnosis therapy. During the hypnosis session, I started remembering more details. There were very complex control panels inside those linear craft, and there were other people in the room where they examined me.
Can you give more information about the other people you remembered in the hypnosis session? Were they also abducted people like you?
In the room I saw during hypnosis, there were 4 to 5 more people, different ages and different ethnicities. They all appeared to be in the same condition, unconscious or semi-conscious. One was a middle-aged woman. She looked very frightened. There was a young man. He was awake like me. I tried to touch them but couldn't.
Did you try to communicate with any of these other people? Did they respond to you?
I made eye contact with the young man who appeared to be awake. He looked very scared too. I tried to ask him, "What are we doing here?" But I couldn't make a sound. He was also trying to tell me something, but I couldn't understand. When the figures took him to another table, I never saw him again.
What does Dr. Williams think about the reality of this experience? Is she trying to provide a scientific explanation for what you experienced?
Dr. Williams said she had seen similar cases before. According to her, I'm a real abduction case, especially the physical marks and electromagnetic effects are typical symptoms. But of course, scientific evidence is difficult because these experiences are mostly personal. She added my case to the UFO research archives.
How did your thoughts about UFOs and alien life change after this experience? Did you believe in these topics before?
I was frankly skeptical before. Since I'm going to be a scientist, I evaluated everything with evidence, but now I understand that the universe is much more complex than we understand. This technology is much more advanced than we can comprehend. I think we need to be open-minded now because there are too many unknowns.
Are you afraid of experiencing such an encounter again in the future? Do you have any preparation for this?
Of course I'm scared, but I'm also curious. If they come again, I'll try to be more prepared. This time, Dr. Williams taught me some techniques, mental resistance, memory exercises. I also always carry a small recording device with me.
Did you tell your family about this experience? How was their reaction?
My mother was very worried at first. She wanted me to see a psychiatrist. My father was more skeptical, but when he saw the marks on my body, he softened a bit. My sister Sarah completely believes me. She's already interested in paranormal topics. My family has accepted the situation now, but they don't like to talk about it much.
Did you get in touch with other people who experienced this? Did you meet people who encountered similar cases?
Through Dr. Williams, I met several people who had similar experiences. A woman named Lisa from Portland. experienced very similar things. She also saw linear craft. We even formed a support group together. Understanding each other is very important because most people think we're crazy.
What do you do in this support group? How do you help each other?
We meet once a week and share our experiences. Sometimes we do hypnosis sessions. Sometimes we just talk. The most important thing is knowing we're not alone. Lisa's electrical device problems are the same as mine. We have another friend named Mike. He also had a similar experience with his friends.
What is the most important lesson you learned from this experience? How did it change your life philosophy?
The most important lesson is that reality is much broader than we understand. Our scientific knowledge has limits, and there are many things we haven't discovered yet. This experience made me more humble. I also learned to listen to what people experience without judging them because everyone has their own truth.
How do you feel when you share this topic with people now? Does it sadden you when people don't believe you?
I've gotten used to it, I guess. Of course it's sad, but I understand that this is normal. I wouldn't have believed such stories before either. What matters is making the voices of people who experience the truth heard. Maybe my story will help someone else understand what they experience. That's why I'm here.
Finally, what advice would you give to people who think they experienced a similar encounter? How would you guide them?
First, they shouldn't blame themselves and shouldn't feel alone. This is not their fault. They can tell a few people they trust, but they don't need to tell everyone. They can apply to organizations like MUFON. Most importantly, they should record their experience, written, visual, in every way. And of course, they shouldn't hesitate to get professional help.
Jake, thank you very much for sharing this personal and difficult experience with us. This requires courage, and I believe your story will help other people.
Thank you, Shelley. Telling this story isn't easy, but people have the right to know. Maybe one day these topics will be researched and discussed more openly. Until then, people like us will continue to tell the truth.
What do you think about this event that Jake experienced? Do you think what happened that night was a figment of imagination or something plausible enough to connect with reality? See you in the next video. Don't forget to follow us.